Hi, welcome to Mallard Books. I hope you have enjoyed looking around a little bit at our new bookstore. We did celebrate our 6-month anniversary or party or celebration just the other day. We opened on October 8th. We opened the doors, so we've been open for 6 months now. And I hope you enjoyed looking around. I hope you enjoyed the poetry tonight. It's so wonderful of Karen and Richard to come and read for us, and I'm just really excited about this. Thank you so much for coming out. Karen has some poetry that she's brought some books, and she will sign them, and they are all 20% off, as is all the poetry in the store, because it's National Poetry Month. And my arm was twisted by the marketing team. Okay, so let's start. Richard Bailey. Richard Bailey's poetry collection Revival was awarded finalist for the 2012 Emily Dickinson First Book Award. His poems have appeared in several journals, including the Madison Review, Mudfish, and Whiskey Island magazine. His play, A Ship of Human Skin, was a finalist at Kitchen Dog Theater's New Works Festival, 2012, and semifinalist at the Bay Area Playwrights Festival, 2012, and the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center's National Playwrights Conference in 2012. Sounds like a cool play. His short films have been shown in festivals across the country, including South by Southwest, Black Maria, Focus, Social Outcast, Wildcatter Exchange, and at Anthology Film Archives in New York City. I also hear that Richard is a musician, and is that right?
No.
No? I always get something wrong when I introduce people. I thought I heard you were in a reggae band, but that must be somebody else. Is that you, Karen? Okay. No.
I'm not in one either.
Okay. All right. So, without any further ado, Richard, please come read us some poetry. Thank you so much.
Would that I were a part of a reggae band. I feel like it's going to be a step down for you all now. But we'll see if some sort of rhythm from the ground up doesn't work its way through. It's a pleasure to see Karen again. I met her in Los Angeles, where she is based. I was out there for just a few years. Los Angeles is a lot of things. It is a literary town. It is an arts town. It is a town where the do-it-yourself spirit is very, very strong, and it's a pleasure to connect with her again in Austin, which is also an arts town, literary town, and the DIY spirit certainly permeates. I'm going to start with just a little bit about my project, and then go into the poems for you. As a storyteller, my goal is to make stories with a mythic emphasis. Each of the poems I'll be reading tonight is a narrative poem. The characters in them reckon with a haunting sense of religious imagination. They are hospitable to mystery and are on the lookout for signs of an inscrutable entity that they believe is brooding over everything, every blade of grass and every instinct. The last poem I'll come to tonight is a nod to my enthusiasm for folk preaching. I myself am not a folk preacher, but my amazement for the art began when I was growing up on a farm in East Texas. The authority invested in the folk sermon does not come out of seminary or scholarship. The authority is in the voice and the improvisational abilities of the speaker. The voice is the gesture that makes legends come alive in day-to-day, ordinary circumstances. Like I say, I am no folk preacher or reggae music maker. I have to write things down, and my beliefs are probably better described by doubt than they are by faith. But I hope that by the end of the reading, I'll have touched upon the strange urgency of a folk sermon. As an aside, I have made a short film about a folk preacher, and I'm happy to share with you a link with that with you if you'd like to exchange emails afterward, if you're curious about that project too. This first poem is called Resisting Rapture. A headstone rising modestly to firmament, and I remember, or rather invent, my grandfather as a youth in striped jersey and football trousers, breaking through empty meadow, purple tops of field grass exploding at the points of his knees. And the stone on the ground, I suppose, speaks of past traditions, emulated virtues, exhorts the living to remember our own end. The space between the etched dates, wide fissure in the brain. I work a lazy calculation but never make the sum. Blackbirds flick from a lone cedar, my young haunt underneath, toing and froing, awaiting the ball he'd punted to tumble through the boughs. Birds scatter and reform, jots of a professor toward an elusive proof. Is eternity one long, empty afternoon sharing youth with my grandfather? Maybe the symbol is not the stone, but the grass seed. Cataclysm without names etched in, anonymous way back into the parentheses of the soil. Or it's the sum-shaped absence left by the blackbirds, themselves now far away burrs in the white summer sky. This next is called 7 Contradicting Fables About Stones. 1. Entropy is a species of angel fluttering over hot coffee and flashlight batteries, flapping their wings that these items go cool. Heat is the covenant between sun and stone. Angels leave this pattern alone for fear of exhaustion. 2. It happened that a stone conjoined with a book, and their contemplation was long. But when winter came, stone wanted fire, and book was the weaker part. 3. A certain stone felt unpondered by the sky, and cursed everything upward. Then snake swallowed stone, knowing that as it crept, stone would tumble within the belly and grind its prey. Years went by in darkness, and stone did not complain. When snake died and rotted away, sunlight met stone with great fanfare. 4. A stone contemplates renewal and renewal only. And though the river changes every minute, they are rivals in religion and contest their borders. 5. When Abraham was 1,000 years old, the great stone told him it was time to die. When Abraham refused, a tremendous portion broke off above him. 6. Orpheus sprang the roof of his mouth for trying, but never achieved the rhythm of a river over stones. 7. A snake rolled a rock 100 miles from its mound of scree by order of a cloud who enjoyed games of interrogation. Deprived of its kind, cloud thought rock would reveal some things, but stone was stone and kept silent. Cloud threw down hail and lightning, but rock never revealed its inner cargo. Cloud obsessed for too long and failed to migrate, and died in slow pieces in the sky. This is brand new for our occasion tonight. This is called A Spiral Way, Part 1, Alien on the Roof. Something there is that does not show, but has its sign in the thunder, and in quieter symbols like morning light. Whatever it is in its farness converts a feeling it is near. And how are we perceived by this alien on the roof, or thing from myth we thought never lived? Are we judged, made sport of, lost things to be found, even loved? What of us, my Aunt Cecilia used to say when she dropped dishes or mashed her hand. She'd have a glass of whiskey when she cooked, and unsticking portions that got burned to the pan. What of us? What of us? It was her best friend Rose that died on the side of a dirt road. This is an awful story, but please look. She left 2 young children in the car when she got out to pick dewberries. They grow wild in the thick brambles along rows of barbed wire fence, and a favorite treat for snakes. Rose, not seeing one, got bit in the forehead. I wonder about the corruption of venom. If Rose was thinking a thought that blistered and broke like a degraded bit of film that decays in the projector, melting a scene into grainy white light. It was my cousin Calvin and I that found them. I was 14, he was 17. First we saw the children, sweaty, bewildered, crying in the car. Then Rose, sloppy summer clothes. Somehow she had one shoe on and one shoe off beside her. Cecilia made the meal that followed the service. She burned her knuckles on the roast, bit her tongue, bad, cutting onions. Sip of whiskey, what of us? Sip of whiskey, what of us? But I don't mean this a dark, regional tale, like something you'd find on Sundance Channel. What I want to get to is awe. Black Sheep Camille is Rose's oldest daughter. She'd been up in Detroit stripping bare for her artist boyfriend, and him showing abstract images of her, bare, for the speculation of the world. She was devastated throughout the service, of course. Later, exhaustion sort of perked her up. She invited me out to the backyard so that we could smoke and talk about her new mode. The boyfriend had switched media to video. She said, "We're applying sentience to complex data, the continuous present there on tape. Life is the only thing of value. Problem solving, intelligence. The point of these is to get more life. Nothing else. Nobody dies like a humanist. We die like animals." When good country people talk about God, we're reflecting on moments in everyday life when something broke into our thinking and turned it upside down. God talk is a way of whistling past the things that shake us up, and a way of clearing space for the present moment. After the reception, most everyone was day drunk. Voices and thoughts were thick. What of us? What of us? Hymns were not invented for wild love to pour out. Hymns were invented so that the singer could get a hold of himself. It was a quarter-mile driveway at dusk, and Calvin coming off the road like a shadow, holding something aloft. I watched every step of his approach. What he held was a dead snake. Not the snake, but a snake. One he kicked out of the brambles and killed with a stick. He showed it to us, and Camille wept. He showed it to us. A man spat in the dirt. He showed it to us. The children cried out. He showed it to us. Dogs snarled and came forward. He showed it to us, and the thing was a villain no more. I've got two more to read for you. Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. This is called Dark Shape in the Garden. Blossoms in the neighbor's garden shone uncommonly bright and twisted round the iron gate. With each phase of the moon, the infirm gardener shuffled up the dark path to change out ornaments atop each pole. New moon phase, it was a fleur-de-lis. First quarter, antique keys. In full moon, medieval-style lion heads with their promising gazes and open mouths. Deep in the night when the boy wasn't supposed to be anywhere but tucked away in bed, an impulse led him outside to see about those knockout lions on the gate. He lay looking up at them, playing games of perspective. Wrought iron poles, looming lions, starry sky. And turning his focus to the path, there, at the very dark end, an impression caught his eye. Something very still, but alive. He trembled and prayed his sight to override the distance and reveal what was there. And a crooked shape seemed to slowly carve itself out of the dark. Yet it remained so still as to seem unlikely. The boy started to doubt the thing he saw, and the moment he was to turn and go, the form swam out at him. A threat? An owl? The neighbor? He did not wait around to see. The night he investigated the lion-head fence became a tale he shared with his own children, delighting them right to the very edge of their courage, where they laughed for the suspense and wiggled at the terror. Then one day, very late in life, when a little flower garden was his last best companion, he sat on a stone table to rest. From nowhere, an impulse slithered up his spine and coiled itself in that cave behind the nose, so that a vision and a taste occurred at once. And he remembered when something of patience decided to stir to shine a bit from the dark. But he had been afraid and resisted the encounter. It's a fear that's been with him his whole life, dry and silent for long periods, but always present to him, his neighbor. And this last poem I'm going to read for you calls to mind a bit, I hope, some of that folk preaching that I was alluding to earlier. It's not improvisational, it was written down in one go, and it's called Kings. David wins prizes for uniqueness, singing, and championship behavior. Saul wins no prizes. He is the hole at the end of a sock, a cold toe. Saul was a big, big man, melancholy, a man's man. David, a scorch, a quick-hipped rocker. When David tended his father's flock, he fought doughtily against wild beasts. When David knocked Goliath off his signpost legs, the sound pealed enmity in Saul's ears. Saul ate his blade in the end, bereft, forsaken by the kingdom. David died old and well off, but that doesn't print right. Should be tour bus accident, poisoned groupie, or motorcycle caromed off a cliff. Here's an apocryphal. David laid to rest in the earth with 3 blessed seeds placed in his mouth, and the roots lovingly blew out the back of his head and dripped like prison bars into hell, and the branches sprung forth from his eye sockets to reach with medieval flourish into heaven, and there within those boughs rocks the holy infant, so delectable, so cool. Thank you very much, everyone.